So everybody in Buffalo is always talking about who's got the best chicken wings. Well, let me tell you, hands down, that is Elmo's. It was Khalil Mack's favorite, and I think it'll be your favorite. It is at 2349 Millersport in Gettsville, New York, or Amherst, New York. I would highly recommend that you go with the Cajun Hot. These are double-dipped wings. They are no doubt the best around. They're going to put everybody else to shame. Elmo's also has a full restaurant and a great bar. And you want to tell them D-Money sent you. Enjoy. Hello, all. Welcome to another edition of the Moneyball Channel. Tonight we have an exceptional guest with us. We have the Rammer, Mr. Craig Ramsay, a legend with the Buffalo Sabres organization and with the National Hockey League. I do want to start out here by mentioning, go ahead, Jackson.
Tonight's show is brought to you by Elmo's Restaurant and Bar, 2349 Millers Point Port Highway in Amherst, New York.
That's an excellent
I
job.
like Elmo.
And I will vouch for Elmo's having the best chicken wings in Buffalo. They beat out Anchor Bar. They beat out Duff's. Their Cajun double dipped hot. Took a couple friends there a week or two ago, and they couldn't get over how good these wings were. Craig, have you ever had the Elmo's?
I've been to Elmo's. Yeah, that was a long time ago, but a while ago, I should say.
A little while ago.
One time I was. Oh yeah.
Good wings,
Yes.
right?
Absolutely right. Yeah. It's not the same.
Bucks, I think, for that.
Yeah, it's not the same when you get them in Florida or places I've been. You know, they promote their buffalo wings, but it's not the same.
It's not the same. We will get right into it. How are the wings in Slovakia? See, I told you this is going to be full of important questions.
Actually, quite good.
Really?
You'll be very surprised. Yeah, they work hard at it, and they're quite good at the wings they put on. They're crispy. You know, they have a lot of different toppings, but you know, if you order them sort of buffalo plain, they're quite good. I enjoy it there.
Is it pretty?
The food is good there.
Is it pretty westernized culture over there?
It is. Throughout Europe, they have much of the Western culture, but you know, we try to go to Slovak places and get original Slovak food, and lunches are really good. We go to a lot of different places, and the lunch is their dinner. It's a full meal.
Okay.
Now I can't even eat it, and I eat a bowl of soup and take the rest home for my supper. So, but the food is excellent, and the people are wonderful. So it's really a great place to live.
Well, I do want to say congratulations. I know we spoke briefly on the phone, but I really heartfelt congratulations for doing what you did with that team. Their first medal ever, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Teenager for Slovakia, and here it will be. It is Pavel Regenda making it 4-0. A deserved goal for Regenda. Slovakia on fire in the National Indoor Stadium. There it is. There they come charging onto the ice to congratulate Patrick Rebar. The shutout win over Sweden. Bronze for Slovakia.
We've won medals, but this was, for hard to believe, but the first ever hockey medal in the Olympics, and everybody was very proud of the bronze medal. We hadn't beaten Sweden very often. They usually try to push us around, but our kids just played like champions. So
that's excellent.
One of the best speeches I ever made was before the second period. I went in and they were all happy and everything was going good, and I sort of trashed them, which is something I don't normally do.
Okay.
And then on my way out, I said to my assistant coaches, "Okay, boys, you got them now." I calm them down and make sure but I wanted to give them a little kick in the butt and make sure
Yeah.
they were ready to go. And they were. They went out, and Sweden tried to get aggressive, and we just took it to them. So we ended up beating it 4-0. So
what was the score after 2?
2-0 after 2, and we scored 2 late goals. But I think after the third one, they're all dancing around like they've won it. And I yelled at them, called them all back in, and said, "Hey, look at the clock.
Yeah.
There's time left." And sure enough, within 10 seconds, they had a breakaway. Sweden had a break.
Yeah.
Our goalie made a wonderful save, and but then we just settled right in and scored another empty net goal, and it was great.
Now, with the Slovakian national team, is it National Hockey League players? Were they over there in this Olympics or no?
Hey, what's up to all my Moneyball listeners? You need some collision work done, I'm going to give you the best guy in the business. His name is Danny Tomasello. He's over at 10 Queen Street, Buffalo, New York, in the Lovejoy area. You're going to want to see him. Tell him D-Money sent you. And he will take good care of you and get all of your collision work done with no hassle. Thanks.
That Olympics, there were no National League players that made it, and that gives us a chance.
Yes.
We have so few NHL players. Sweden can put a team of 20 NHL guys if they have the opportunity to do it. And the Canadians, Americans, and
sure.
But we cannot. So this was was the golden opportunity for us, that it was just players that play in Europe, and the Slovak League, the Czech League, and we spread them around, but everybody had to use players who were non-National Hockey League players. They could get, I believe some of them had some American League players, but the rest of it was just regular players from regular league.
That was the rule for that year, right?
The NHL, because it was in Beijing and China, and the NHL late, but they said no NHL players will go.
Okay.
They didn't want to go over and have potential problems.
Okay.
And it wasn't fun over there, trust me. They locked us in the fence. We couldn't go into town. We couldn't go anywhere. We couldn't go outside the gate unless we were climbing on a bus. So it was very difficult 3 weeks, but our players sucked it up and stayed focused right through.
See, that's a really, really interesting story, and I'm glad you shared that. And I think, Olympics are often glamorized as this, and listen, they should be, right? The event itself absolutely should be glamorized, but you're not the first person that I've heard tell me conditions can get really kind of rough depending on where you are. I know my wife's brother was over there in South Korea that year as well, and he kind of had
South Korea.
He had some mixed emotions about it, yeah.
And we were in a small town. It was called Pyeongchang, but we were in Gwangjang, and it was a little village, and that's where the hockey was played. To go watch our girls ski, which we did one night. There was a full hour bus ride.
Yeah, that's what I heard. It was all over the place, right?
Oh yeah, it was far away from us, and it was, that was where sort of the main headquarters was. And it was interesting because we had a bus, just a glorified school bus, and then the U.S. ladies, the hockey team, got split up. They didn't get a bus, so I ended up with a girl climbing in beside me, and she's on the Slovak bus and looking around, and I just turned to her. Once we got moving, I said, "So, how you doing?" And
I mean,
she was staring at me, and I said, "I'm from Tampa." "Oh, wow. That was our training camp was in Tampa."
Well, at least she knew what it was.
Yeah, oh yeah. They were in Saddlebrook Resort, which I used to play golf at all the time.
I'm familiar with the tennis there.
it's about 20 minutes from my house. So yeah, we had a great chat. But of all the people she picked, she ended up with the American guy. So
That is funny. That is too funny. Jackson does have a question for you. He was excited to ask you. I'm going to go ahead and let him go. Fire away, Jackson.
Did they wear hockey helmets when you played?
Well, when I started to play in the NHL, you did not have to wear a helmet.
I told you.
My first year, I had played without a helmet. And late in the season, we were playing St. Louis. And the Plager brothers, Barkley and Bob, played rat-tat-tat on the top of my head. So when I came out after the game, I just said to my wife, Susan, I said, just feel the top of my head. And there was about 8 big lumps on the top of my head. And I said, next year I'm putting a helmet on. So I went and put a helmet on. And for quite a number of years past that, players could play without a helmet. But because I did all my work sort of along the boards and in the corners where big defensemen would whack me in the head, it wasn't going to work.
You know, I can honestly say, and this is a very unbiased, not because I've known you for years, whatever it is, my opinion, you are one of the most underrated hockey players ever. And I truly mean that. Looking back at your career, I'm a little bit of a nerd when it's, involving any sports, especially my Sabres, but I think if I remember this correctly, 10 straight years of 20 goals.
8 years of 20 goals and 10 years I never missed a game.
Okay. 8 years, 20 goals.
776 games in a row. And
that's got to be some. I mean, who has the record?
Well, I was 4th at the time, but not to say it's a little bit easier now, but there's been a number of players who've gone past me at this point. There's a couple over 1,000.
Okay, and that's just unbelievable to me. And I think a lot of sports now, and I'll say it, I interview athletes of all makes. I've had a 14-year-old surfer, a professional volleyball player overseas, to professional baseball players. Every sport has its own, in my opinion, toughness, right? Your Iron Man type feel to it. Like, I don't know what the record is for football. I guess I could look something like that up, right? Or basketball. It seems like football, hockey, you're getting pounded, right? I mean, you're getting pounded. You're a winger. You're taking hits from these guys. Sometimes you have no helmet, whatever the situation is, but you are getting pounded. Now, the rules back then were not enforced quite the same either. So guess what? Those open ice checks where you can just level somebody, you're going full speed and somebody lowers and spears you, those were not called like they are now.
They weren't. There was a lot of stuff that just weren't penalties. And, thank heavens they've cleaned the game up. We used to have the bench clearing brawls, and
I miss those though.
You'd have guys trying to beat you up, and I was lucky. I had Jimmy Schoenfeld, Larry Playfair.
Yeah, you did.
Larry Carrier, Rick Dudley. I had guys that would step in and let people know that if they were going to go after me, that they were going to deal with them.
Yeah.
So, I had support around me, but.
Now, did you know that? Did you instigate a lot knowing that?
No. I used my stick when I had to. If it was important and I needed to, then I used my stick to defend myself, and they didn't like it. But then the guys would jump in behind me, and that would be the end of it. So, but once in a while you were involved in some bench clearing brawl, and you just hope you got a good matchup. One time I got I got Teddy Harris. So Teddy was 6'4", 220 pounds, but he didn't want to end up with me. When he ended up with me, he was like, oh, he wasn't going to fight me.
Yeah, he felt bad or
I,
what? He was like, I'm going to leave this guy alone.
he just looked at me and shook his head. He was like, oh boy. He shook me around so he could watch the fight, but he wasn't going to fight me. He was an honest, very honest, tough man, and he wasn't going to pick on a much smaller boy. And
See, I love that. I love that you just said that. I think, back in the day and during your career, there was an honesty to the game. It was played differently. And not to say you don't have those players now, but I think as a whole, it just seemed like the brotherhood, the camaraderie. Now, maybe that's changed because of the massive contracts now and everybody's kind of a prima donna or the money, or maybe it's just the evolution of things. I don't know. But do you feel the same way? I mean, it was just more of a brotherhood back then. It was a little tighter.
well, thank God we had a tight group of players on the Buffalo Sabres. We had a great, honest group of guys, and I really believe that we were good enough to win a couple of world championships, and we didn't quite know how to get it done. We went to only one final
Yeah, you got close.
in '75, but
Yep.
then when I coached to the Stanley Cup with the Lightning, John Tortorella head coach, and I was associate coach, and I saw what the players went through, and they got it figured out. Maybe we as coaches had a better handle on what it actually took to get there, but we believed we had the players to get it done, but we didn't get it done.
Right.
And that's always been something I've been disappointed in, and I've looked back and tried to many times what could I have done differently, how could I have done it differently to give us that one little thing, because it doesn't take much to push you over the line, but it's all about competing and the right play at the right time, the right compete, and the camaraderie that it takes to win a championship at any sport level is astronomical. And
that's gospel right there. It truly is.
That somehow we just didn't quite get it figured out.
Well, Buffalo hasn't quite gotten it figured out, so don't feel too bad.
Yeah.
I've
It's
had
really sad, isn't it?
listen, I've talked to a couple of the boys. I've had a couple on the show, and I just know a couple of the boys who went to 4 straight Super Bowls and couldn't get it done. Now, could you imagine that for 1 minute, having that core group, right, and getting there the first year and saying, okay, we didn't quite get there. Second year, okay, third year, and to me, not to bash those teams. I mean, like I said, I love those guys, and they'll never, ever be anyone like those teams. But 4 years in a row is something that just is unfathomable to me as far as mentally, right? After that third year, right? Mentally, I mean,
I've had people even down here in Florida, and they say, "Oh, I don't even want to watch. I hope they don't make it." And I said, "Are you crazy? I mean, what fun we've had watching these guys put their lives on the line and compete right down to the end. And the fact they didn't get it done means nothing. That what other team has made it to 4 straight Super Bowls, win or lose? Who else has done it? Zero. So these guys were courageous. They battled, and they didn't quite find a way, just like we didn't find the way. But I've always been proud to be a Buffalo guy with what they accomplished, and I'm still a proud Buffalo guy with our teams. So my kids are still Buffalo fans.
Well, absolutely, and I think it never really goes away, right? Buffalo grabs and just holds a piece of your heart. And I often bring that up with a lot of the guests. And I say, you before you got drafted, 71, I think, you hadn't been to Buffalo, I'm sure. but it became home, right? And not only did it become home, but it became a good home. You kind of fall in love with the city.
Well, I was born in Toronto and I used to watch the Buffalo stations. And when I got drafted to Buffalo, first there was Punch Imlach, who I'd watched in Toronto, was one of the meanest sons of guns that you'd
Son of a
meet.
gun, yeah.
And now I'm going to a place where there's a 50-50 chance I'm going to die in a fire. The old days of fire in Cheektowaga, Lackawanna, Tonawanda. And then you get there and you meet the people.
Yep.
And you go, wow, what a place. This is truly a special place. I had 4 children born there. And I didn't want to leave, but things happened with the Sabres. I wasn't making any headway. I was assistant manager, but going nowhere. And I had a chance to get back into coaching with Roger Nielsen in Florida. They always asked me, would you ever leave Buffalo? And I said, yep, when they put a team in Florida. Well, Roger called Monday night, and he had the job in Florida, and I could have it if I wanted. So
were you in Atlanta first or Florida first?
Florida.
You were in Florida first.
1993, we picked our own expansion team. The Tampa had gone in, but we were the next team the next year, and we got to pick our own team.
Wow.
In the draft. Bobby Clark was manager. Roger Nielsen was head coach. I was associate coach, and we brought in Lindy Ruff.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I do remember that.
To be an assistant. And it was quite amazing to pick your own players, you know.
I think Ruff was maybe 2 years out of the league.
No, he had just retired.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So fresh. I knew. Yeah, he was.
I had played with him, and I said to Roger, well, we need an extra guy. We need somebody. And he's just retired. So Roger called him, and he came in and booted us out and took over. So
he's gone on to do a couple things, right? He's gone on to do okay.
Yeah, he certainly has. So
out of all your old crew, I know Don Luce, right, was a great friend, line mate and friend. Who do you still keep in contact with? Who's on your Rolodex here? Who's in your golf foursomes? Is there anybody that you're still real tight with?
Well, Donnie, Luce, and Diane. Diane calls Susan. They call back and forth about 5 times a week. If I do get back, and I haven't been back in a while, I play golf with Derek Smith and Terry Martin.
Excellent.
Mike Camaraderie isn't a hockey player, but he's been one of our great buddies for years and years.
Yeah.
And then we would try to get Donnie to play, and we would always go see Donnie and Billy Height.
Yeah, Billy Height.
Stop in and chat him up. Donnie and Billy are in the same house that they first bought when they went to Buffalo.
Get out of here. Are they really?
Same house, yeah.
Wow. That's remarkable.
That's great people. But we had great people in our group, like really special, good, honest family people. And I've always tried to look at my players and to try to figure out, are they honest people? I don't want anybody who's not an honest person, an honest player. If you're not an honest person, you can't be an honest player. So I was lucky enough to play with some really wonderful people. Whether they were great players or not will be up to history, but I thought they were great, and
great
more importantly, they were.
You hear that, Jackson? That's a key ingredient. A lot of times I want to teach these boys. I wear this hat a lot. They're going to be the next sponsor for the show, but it says Lions, not sheep. And that's something that I often preach at my household, right? And that, don't follow the herd, be the lion. I think honesty has a lot to do with that, right? Honesty is something that is a trait I don't think is stressed enough. No one's going to be, if you're not honest, not only with other people, but with yourself, right?
Yeah.
that's how
Yeah,
I.
when you come down and you're playing the third period for the bronze medal against Sweden, and you've got a whole country uh, watching you, you've got to be honest about your approach to the game and your approach to your team and your approach to your teammates. And if you're not, you will not succeed. And that group of players were a wonderful group of honest guys who came to work. And when I gave them a kick in the third period, they accepted it like men. And they went out and gave me absolutely everything they had.
Is it fair to see? Is it fair to say too? You think people, it's very transparent. Like a piece of Scotch tape, in my opinion. People that are not honest. You can see through those people, right? No matter how hard or they BS or whatever.
Yeah, they won't last long around me and my group. We've had a couple. I'm very lucky in hockey business. You don't get many of those people. It's too hard a game.
I'll tell you what,
at a high level.
You're still going strong here. I mean, tell me a little bit about, you said you don't get back often, and you're currently still head coach of that squad, correct?
Of the Slovak national
yes
federation team.
Yeah. So what is I guess a season like, or a month or a week? Kind of give me a breakdown of a month by month or a season for you. How long have you been back home in Tampa? How does this break down for you?
This has been one of the longest ones I've had. I think they're trying to be nice to me, so I'll keep going back. So they gave me 4 or 5 months this time. I go back October 15th. I'll come home for Christmas. I have 2 tournaments. I only do tournament teams, world championship teams, Olympic teams.
You're the best
and
of the.
so we have to just put the best players that we can find wherever they are. They're all over Europe, North America, and we try to get them to come in and play. But I'll have 2 tournaments: the Deutschland Cup in Germany, and then we're going to Switzerland, but I'm not even sure. I think we're doing it at home this year, and we'll get 3 other teams to come in and play us, and then I'll go home for Christmas for a month, go back and do another tournament or 2. I'll get another month break, and then I go back for a little over 3 months to get prepared for the World Championships. And this year it's in the Czech Republic, just across the border from Slovakia. So
that's nice.
The place we're in is almost a home game. We'll have lots and lots of Slovak fans that will.
It's actually really nice, right? That's less
travel,
better.
It's cool. We had a lot in Riga the last time. Last year, we had a lot of fans that came. Spent the weekend, spent a 3-day weekend, and watched a bunch of games. And it's a beautiful city, so they hang out in the city, and it gets stuff for me to walk around. But
well, you're folklore over there now, right? I mean, you're a popular man over there these days.
Well, I've been a lucky boy, to get the medal and have some success. So I'm just
let me ask you, what's the why for you right now? I mean, you've had you've had a phenomenal career, and you have nothing to prove at this point, right? I mean, really, you don't. And is it just, Susan doesn't want you around, she keep making you go back, or what's going on? I mean, what drives you to keep going?
She kicks my butt out of the house.
She just doesn't want you around.
No, not really. Miro Shatan called me 6 years ago, so this will be my 7th year.
Okay.
He asked another Buffalo guy, and he asked if I would come over and help. He wanted to change the way they played hockey in Slovakia. They were still playing.
Was he coaching at the time?
No, he was taking over as general manager,
Wow. Okay.
and he had decided to go back and help. And now he's the president of the federation. And he wanted me to come and help. I coached him in Boston with Zdeno Chara, another Slovak.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So he asked if I'd come over. I said I would. It was supposed to be a year, maybe two. I'm going into year 7.
You hear that?
We've done 2 Olympics. We hosted the World Championships we were in Košice, and there was 9,000 every night. And the first game, I had to come out of the dressing room, walk up these stairs, and the chanting and the screaming and the singing was truly unbelievable. And Susan was over, and my son Jad, the second boy, hit my grandson.
Mm-hmm.
I had 2 nieces, a nephew. Everybody was over, and they're just going, wow. My daughter was there. They never saw anything like it. And so I keep saying I'm going to quit, and then I give it 1 more year. So this happened to be really close. So my girl, Susanna, she kept beating me over the head until I agreed to come back.
I think you'll know. You'll know. Internally, you'll say, okay, you know what, it's time. And you're absolutely, you already are a legend, but you're going to go down, when it's all said and done with all this coaching and everything you've done. Again, not only as a player, but to be honest, underrated in the coaching as well. I think coaches very often get a bad rap, right? So let's say a team doesn't perform the way they're supposed to. They're instantly going to blame it on the head coach a lot of the time, right? They're going to say, oh, this coach has got to go, right?
It's always the coach.
It's always the coach. Forget about the players who are doing terrible. It's always the coach. And that's what I think has happened so many times in history. And I think, though, often it ends up working out. It everything kind of manifests, right? Like it's all a destiny. Things work out for the better. Had you never left, Atlanta or wherever it was, who knows where you would have ended up.
Yeah,
you got that cup with St. Louis, right? Look at this gentleman.
This is a book they wrote about me in Slovakia.
Get out of here.
It's called Stasny Halapec, Lucky Boy.
Is that what that means?
Yeah.
That's quite amazing. Can I get that on Amazon?
I don't know if you can get it over here or not.
Well, I'm gonna get it somewhere, and I'm gonna send it down, and I need a signed copy back. But they wrote a book about you. Let's talk about that a little bit. How did they do that? Did they kind of follow you around, or what did they do?
It was really strange. It was at the end of the season, and these 2 young PR guys came into my office hanging their heads, and I said, every time I see you, there's a problem.
Yeah.
And they said, well, we've got an idea. And I said, that's a bigger problem.
That's a bigger problem.
And they said, we want to write a book. And I said, not a chance. You're not writing a book about me.
Really?
And they said, well, we think it'd be a good idea. Then I talked to Miro Shatan, and he said, well, I think it'd be a good idea. So I would meet the 2 of them. We'd meet out at a bar, and I would drink a few pivos and tell stories. And we did it over quite a number of nights and a few Zooms. And they wrote a book.
How spectacular, though. I mean,
I don't know what's in it because it's in Slovak.
Oh, so you've never read it? You've never had it translated or read it?
No, I've asked how much, how do we get this done in English, but I haven't quite figured it out yet. So
if I'm not mistaken, and I definitely could be, when you get that Audible app, there's an app Audible, and I think it'll take any book and you can it'll translate. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
may end up reading this or have it read to me before you do, and I will let you know how it is. But you know what? How cool. I mean, to have a book written about you. That's such a legacy. I'm hoping one day somebody can write a book about me, or Jackson can have someone write a book about him. And I keep telling him, the possibilities are endless. I always want these kids to watch these. And Craig, before we get done with this, I'll have Craig give you a little bit of advice. Jackson's not playing hockey. Deacon, his older brother, who's 10, is playing hockey. He's playing travel. He's kind of all over the place. This guy didn't want to play hockey for some reason. I don't know.
Play hockey now.
Oh, see, you might have inspired him. Now he wants to play hockey. So learn to skate. Patty Coletta runs. We'll have you play hockey if you want. How is the family? How's Jad doing? How is Susan? Where are they all living?
Travis, the oldest one, lives in Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
Jad, the second one, Jad is in Minneapolis with two grandsons.
Okay.
The oldest boy didn't want to play hockey either. He's a football player and a curler.
Okay.
The second grandson there, he plays hockey and he wants to be a football player too. I have Brendan that lives here in Tampa.
Oh, he's in Tampa with you.
His daughter Reagan. Travis's daughter is Cora. They live, just 4 hours away.
Yeah.
And Reagan she's lived here. She lives just about 25 minutes away.
Okay, great.
And Tristan has two children that live right here in this house.
So you have 7 grandchildren?
7 grandchildren.
7.
Yes.
See that quick math, man. I'm a real whiz there, Jackson.
He is a sharp young man.
I am sharp as a blade, sharp as a samurai. So are you in Wesley Chapel? Are you in Lutz, or where are you down there?
Let's see. I'm still in Tampa.
Okay.
Brendan in Wesley Chapel. And Brenny is just into Pasco County. I'm in Hillsborough County.
Yep.
I'm still in Tampa. And he's in Wesley Chapel. It's only
funny how well I know that area. I always say, to my wife Trish, that it's definitely my home away from home. And obviously, with my parents going down there the years ago, they did. But even prior to that, we used to vacation down there. I don't know if you remember.
Oh yeah,
we took Bowman's Winnebago down there and stuff. That's a story for another day, right?
Yeah.
But that didn't end well. But and I like that area, that new Tampa, the Wesley Chapel, that whole area. And I think as you get older, or at least in my opinion, you don't want to be at the beach. That's like everybody. You can drive to the beach if you want, but you don't want to. You don't want to live over there. I go down every spring training. We're a huge baseball family. We've been to every stadium in the country. And I go down now to spring training. So I'll spend a week. We go down to Venice. We go down, to the Braves. I'll go to Lakeland, which is right by you guys, the Tigers. Mm-hmm. And we'll spend a few days just going over. And I love it. There's
the Phillies are over by Clearwater, aren't they?
Who is it?
Isn't the Phillies over by Clearwater?
Yes, the Phillies are in Clearwater. Toronto is in Dunedin.
Right.
And then everything starts to kind of trickle south. I think next year, for the first time ever, we might go over to the East Coast, because I've never been over like Port St. Lucie and over down there. But Florida, people either they love it or they hate it. And everyone's got an opinion. It's like, oh, it's too hot. It's too hot. Well, when it's too hot, you go inside. So in Buffalo, when it's cold, you go inside,
Yeah, but when it's hot here, which it is right now, it's really hot. I can still golf.
You go in the morning or at night, right?
You can't golf in January in Buffalo.
No, you cannot.
You cannot. I loved Buffalo when we were there. I absolutely loved the city. I loved the people. There's no doubt about it. And my kids still think they're Buffalo people.
Okay.
But in Florida, I can golf 12 months a year.
Yeah.
And
It's the quality
you know,
of life too.
that's sort of the only thing I got left I can do. So it's pretty cool to be able to do that. I was cutting palm trees today,
Yeah.
and it was hot and it was not fun.
Right.
But you know what? It's a small price to pay. The
Yeah, I
sun's
think
the sun's shining, and Thursday I'm going golfing. Saturday I got a golf tournament with two of my boys playing in it with me.
oh, that's
So
cool. That's cool.
yeah, it's pretty neat.
Jad is who
It's
I
fun
was
that we have three of my kids living in Florida.
I know it's awesome.
Buffalo.
I was probably closest with Jad. I remember he was, at a
Yeah.
birthday party of mine and vice versa. I'm 44. Is he same?
Yeah, about the same.
Yeah.
Yes.
And now what is he doing with himself? I am Facebook friends with him. We have a mutual friend who actually knows you. Elio, do you know a guy, Elio Coventry?
Oh shit, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No,
Yeah.
no, that's okay. Yeah. This is not just PG here, but Elio is a great guy. He's a good friend of mine. I've known him for years.
He's a great kid. I knew him when he was a little wee person.
Yeah.
Um,
Any good
Lucius,
stories about him?
Lucius his mother, and Bruce was his father. And Elio was young Bruce at the time, but decided to change his name. And I
Oh, no
understand.
kidding. See right there is something I didn't know I can pick on him for. Thank you. Right off the bat, I get info.
Yeah. No, they were good kids. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
they used to all come out to the house, and Susan would cook dinner for the whole family. So yeah, we've known them for an awfully long time. He played hockey with my son.
Yep.
I think he played with Travis though,
He did. I think he played with Travis.
the oldest boy.
Yeah.
And they were on the same team. His dad was the coach, and they were the only team to win the Amherst tournament.
Was he a decent player? Was Elio a good player?
He was a decent player. Perhaps none of them were, going to make it.
Right. Right.
But they were able to win the tournament for the first and only time. I think that an Amherst team has won their own tournament because they brought in high-end teams.
Yeah.
From Detroit, from Toronto, and they knocked them off. And it was pretty. And I happened to be home for one weekend, and I got to race over and watch the end of one of the games. And it was really cool to watch them play. They played hard.
Couple more things. Couple more things I'm going to pick your brain on, and I'll, you've definitely given me some of your time, and I appreciate it. Couple more things. I just had a young man on. He was drafted. He's from Hamburg. His name is Joey Muldowney, and he was drafted from Hamburg, 6th round to the Sharks. Then there was another Hamburg boy, Quentin Musty, who was just drafted 1st round by the Sharks. And these guys are right, they're right where I grow, 10 minutes from where I live. They told me a little bit about their draft experience. Share with me, if you can, real quick, if you can remember. I think we're still there, right? We can remember. Take me back to that day you got drafted. Can you recall, and how did that feel? Do you remember that?
Yeah, it was in Montreal, and I took a train down to Montreal.
Okay.
And I had these two guys, Chatty and Cezanne, were my agents, and I had a hotel room at Queen Elizabeth, and I thought I was certainly going to go in the top. I thought I'd go in the top 5.
Okay.
At least the top 10. I led the Ontario Hockey League in scoring. Our team was 1st place. We did lose out in the 1st round of the playoffs. I got knocked out and spent
you led the entire league in the OHL in scoring?
No, my team in scoring. I was a top 10 scorer in the league.
Okay.
But I was noted more as a two-way player, defensive player, even though I was a scorer. but I got knocked out in the playoffs. Spent 2 days in the hospital, and they decided I wasn't tough enough for those days, so I didn't go to the second round, which was the 19th pick.
Well, that was second round.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was first round 19. Was there not 19 teams?
There was only 14 teams.
No kidding. Okay. I saw 19th and I said that's crazy.
Yeah, Richard Martin was the first pick, and I was the second pick, and Billy Height was the third pick, and they got 38 years of play out of those three picks in 1 year. Richard played 10, and Billy and I both played 14.
Might be their best draft ever, 71. That's incredible.
It's pretty neat, and I was very disappointed actually that I went
as far as going in the second round, you mean?
Yeah, and there was no big deal in those days. I finally was introduced to Punch Imlach, and he gave me a nice to meet you thing. And that was the end of that. And I went home.
Yeah, he's not so much known for his hospitality, right?
Yeah, and there was nothing that, nowadays they take care of the kids and the families, and they have big dinners for them, and everybody has a great time. For me, it was nice chatting with you. See you at training camp. Better be in shape, and that was the end of that.
It kind of stinks, on your end, but to hear the perspective of that is intriguing. 71, and then to hear Muldowney tell me 6th round, he didn't think he was going to get drafted at all. A couple teams had called him, and he said he just went down. He was hanging out with his girlfriend doing something, and somebody texted him and just said, "Hey, congratulations, man." And he didn't know what it was because he was just watching NHL. He's watching the ticker go by, and he didn't see his name. And then finally he did, and then obviously what follows. Did you know this?
Hey,
I'm not sure. First of all,
I don't interrupt, but 2 years ago, is it now? The first 2 picks in the draft were Slovak players that played for me. Slavkovsky went to Montreal #1, and Nemitz went to New Jersey #2. First time in history.
You know what? I forgot number 1 and 2. And that was actually a huge deal. That was a big deal. First time, not only first time in history, but it was like, I remember seeing and reading that, and I'm sure over there. Were you over there when that happened?
No, I was in Florida.
Okay. I know they like to celebrate over there. I'm sure they did quite the celebrating.
Oh, it was a huge, huge deal. And we had 3 players in the first round.
Wow.
I told my wife, I said, I'm taking a beer and going for a walk because I might start crying.
Wow. Yeah.
We had 4 players picked in the first 2 rounds.
That's got to be a great feeling.
It was a wonderful feeling. And
Rammer, you're part of that. You know what I mean? That the influence you had on these boys is just paramount, and that had to be incredible.
Yeah, but again, it's the fact that Miro Shatan had the courage to bring in an English-speaking coach.
Yeah.
And my assistant coaches were remarkable. They agreed to follow the system. And again, we only get the players for tournaments. It's not like we have them for a year.
Right.
We got to teach them in sometimes 2 days, sometimes 3 days. We have different players for every tournament. But those guys played the World Championships. Then they played the Olympics, and they said publicly, you can't take 17-year-olds to World Championships or Olympics. And Slavkovsky ended up MVP of the Olympics, 7 goals.
That's awesome.
So, it's about the courage of the people around me.
Well, it's a humble statement, and
follow. They follow the plan, and they agree to the plan, and they stick with it, and they're not afraid of it. and
No,
they make it work.
those are lions. Those are lions. You know, they stuck out and they said, you know what, regardless of the scrutiny or who might not like it, we have a plan, and they stuck with it. And I commend that immensely. You've always been a pretty humble person. You know, and that stands true right now, you know, because I mean, I have a different opinion. My opinion is that Craig Ramsay got them to where they needed to go, right? You don't need to agree with me, but you know, that's my opinion, you know. And I'm sure there is quite a few people that share that sentiment. One quick thing I do want to tell you, I Googled interesting facts about Craig Ramsay, right? You know what came up? First thing said 22 interesting facts about Craig Ramsay. I have never in my life Googled somebody and had it come up and say 22 interesting facts about that person. Isn't that cool? Like, so a couple things, right? Played 10 seasons for the Sabres consecutive. Retired, only played with the Sabres, correct?
Yep.
Yep, retired a Sabre. This one was great. It was where is it here? Where is it here? Where is it? You are the last player to play a full NHL season without a penalty, Craig.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
I've heard stories.
You're the Rammer here is the last guy to go out, play so clean. Well, he didn't get caught, right? Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
He didn't get caught. But to go a whole season without even a tripping penalty is I've never even heard of that.
I teach you to skate and work, not hook and hold.
See, and that's awesome. That's just, you know, what's really cool too. The junior Sabres here are coached by a lot of guys, you know, a lot of the younger cats, but there's, you know, Kennedy and Coletta and Rivet and you know, a lot of these guys are all coaching the junior Sabres, which, you know, I think is pretty neat that the kids that are playing at that level get that type of coaching, you know.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to leave us with here? I mean, this was phenomenal. This was great catching up with you. I absolutely thank you, you know, for taking the time. I was telling Jackson the first time I met Craig Ramsay, I was probably about his age or maybe 10 years old or so, right?
Yeah, you're a little fella. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I was
your mother still has lunch with Susan.
Yeah, they talk a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
I was so thrilled back then. You were like a superhero to me. You really were. I was a squirt. I remember the first game I went to, I kept asking why Ted Darling was not over the PA system announcing the game when I was there.
Oh.
And then I would collect ticket stubs at the odd, you know, the ramps that you'd walk up. I would everybody's junk was my treasure. So I would just have bags and bags full of these ticket stubs. And you know, hey, who knows where those are, because they're probably worth a lot of money. Mary threw those out along with all my baseball cards, right?
Yeah. But what a great rink to watch a game. It was really a great rink to watch a game. You were so close to the action. You were so much a part of it. I mean, the oranges were pretty freaking high.
They were pretty steep.
Yeah. When I finally went up there, I retired and went up there, and it was a little scary walking down those stairs. So.
I'll tell you what was scary was walking into that press box. Right? That was like a high wire daredevil act, man. You had to walk over that little bridge there, and man, that was scary.
Yeah,
Boy,
how about
so many? I mean, I could literally, you know, talk to you for hours. I'm gonna let you get going, and I so much appreciate it.
Ted Darling was a wonderful guy. I'm glad his name's up there, but Ricky Jenneret just passed away, and
yes,
you know, it's been a tough time lately for my old Buffalo friends. A few of them passed away, and
yeah, I'm sorry to hear it.
Yeah, it's a sad time, but this makes it worthwhile to have a great discussion with you and your son, Jackson, and I wish him well. and you will. And I really enjoyed this opportunity. So
Fantastic. Fantastic. That's what I like to hear. I'll try to keep in touch as well. You know, I'm going to be in Florida. We're planning on going to the World Series. I'm a huge Atlanta Braves fan. And we went to the World Series a couple of years ago, and we already got tickets to come down there. But you said you're leaving on the 15th?
15th of October, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna see it. But one of these days we're gonna catch up, Rammer.
Absolutely.
You take care of yourself. Again, thanks a million for doing this. Tell all the family I said hello. Once this is all edited and set up, I'll make sure you send a copy of it, and it'll be big to get some support over with the Slovaks. We will, you know, it's a YouTube channel, obviously, and everybody watches it. So
it's great stuff. I mean, I'm proud of my boys. I'm proud of my people.
Well, I'm proud of you.
I got my shirt on.
I saw that. I want to know where I get one of those.
Well, they're not easy to come by.
Okay. Well, I guess that's out. I guess that's out. That was my next ask.
You gotta talk to Mary to talk to Susan, because I know there's a couple hanging around here.
All right. Well, we're gonna work something out.
Yeah, there's one girl to another girl, and she hides them all. So she's got it'll end up in your
Rammer.
It'll end up in your back sometime.
I hope so. This was truly a pleasure and a really fun conversation. So take care of yourself, okay?
See you, boys.
All right, over and out.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.